Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Tom Talks podcast. It's your boy, the one and only Tom John. And I know this video is late. I've been busy with life, but it doesn't matter. We're going to recap the wild card. I'm going to make our predictions for the divisional round of the playoffs. Houston dog walks the Cleveland Browns 45 to 14. CJ Stroud's playoff debut, D'Amico Ryan's playoff debut as a head coach. The defense kicked ass. That's the story of this game. Both CJ Stroud and the defense did their thing. 2 pick sixes, and CJ Stroud basically being perfect, throwing 3 touchdowns, and Houston just steamrolling Cleveland and sending them home. And unfortunately, the Joe Flacco magic ended in Houston, like it didn't, because the first time the Browns beat the Texans pretty handily the first time around. And I would assume that Joe Flacco is retiring this year. So it was a fun run while they were on it, but it is what it is. I thought the Browns defense would stop Houston, but clearly I was wrong. And next game, the bullshit Peacock exclusive game, as I'm calling this, is the Chiefs basically dominating the Dolphins 26-7 in -3 degree weather, feeling like -15. Sending I'm gonna say like a dozen people to the hospital with either hypothermia or frostbite, which is absolutely insane. Like, at what point? Like, I don't think this is going to happen, but I feel like at one point, if a team wants to build a new stadium, like especially in cold places like Kansas City and Buffalo and like everywhere in the Northeast and wherever it gets cold and has snowstorms, I feel like they're gonna be forced to build domes or at least have the ability to have retractable roofs. I don't know. That's just me. But like Minnesota and Detroit, they've got domes, retractable roofs. I feel like eventually they're gonna make Chicago and Green Bay do the same thing. But I don't know. That might be a thing. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Like, because elements are a great part of the game, but who knows? Anyway, that's a whole other discussion for a whole other video. Playoff wise, Dolphins really didn't do much because the Chiefs defense kicked ass, as they have been kicking ass all year. Forced an interception, didn't really allow Tua to do much in the running and stop the running game. Meanwhile, the offense, Rasheed Rice was the key player to this game and will be the key player in order for the Chiefs to have a successful playoff run. Because Travis Kelce is always going to do his thing. People are going to cover Travis Kelce. They're going to try to defend him. Mahomes is going to do Mahomes things. It's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes any in the playoffs. So there's really not much else to say about that. How about them Cowboys getting their fucking asses kicked? But we'll go back to this game in a second. Let's talk about Detroit and LA for real quick. We'll go back to the other game. I thought the Rams were going to win because of experience, but what I said in my prediction video was correct. I said I feel like both teams would go back and forth scoring touchdowns. I thought it was going to be a high scoring game, not this low scoring. But I was going to say, whichever defense can get a stop and force a field goal first is going to win the game, and that's what Detroit did. Detroit scored a touchdown their first offensive possession, and their defense did well enough to stop the Rams and make them score a field goal. And now there were a few missed calls. People say there are a few questionable missed calls on Detroit especially at the end of the game. It was like a 3rd and 10, and Puka Nacua was interfered with. People are saying that it looked kind of dirty. You could have called that, but they didn't. They let the players play. And Jared Goff came through when he needed to come through. And Amon-Ra St. Brown proved that he's a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Same with Puka Nacua. Even though he lost, he set a rookie playoff record with 185 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is arguably the best receiver left in the playoffs. It's like him, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, and Debo are probably the best 3 receivers off the top of my head to be left in the playoffs. So, congratulations, Detroit. They hosted their first playoff game in 30 years, and they won their first playoff game in 30 years. So, congratulations to Detroit. And now the 2 Monday night games. This game was delayed because of the crazy snowstorm up in Buffalo, as they basically dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers with the majority of the game, 31-7. Josh Allen did his thing. The tight ends did their thing, and the defense played well enough to hold Pittsburgh to only 17 points. But I'm concerned with them because there are a lot of defensive injuries, especially at the linebacker position. That'll determine how they do against the Kansas City Chiefs, but we'll go over that in a second. And now, the disappointments of my Birds getting their fucking asses kicked by Tampa Bay. I'm not gonna sit here and shit on Tampa Bay because I'm not gonna say they're not a good team. They won their division. They played well enough to win the NFC South. But the Eagles, they collapsed at the end of the year. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I feel like the team quit on them, especially the defense. The fucking Matt Patricia's a dog shit fucking defensive coordinator. Defensive backs and linebackers can't tackle. We need all new defensive backs, defensive and new linebackers. And we need to get younger on the defensive line. As much as I want Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox to come back, I don't feel like they're going to come back. We might sign them for. If they are, they're going to be vet minimum deals, but I don't know if they're going to take that. Yeah, so it's just a lot of disappointment from the Eagles. The only players that really showed up were the majority of the defensive line and Devontae Smith, who had a crazy game despite how inefficient the offense has performed. Now, is that on Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson? I don't know for sure. There have been reports saying it's both. It's one or the other, or it's a combination of the two. I don't know. But as far as I know, as for off-season news, Nick Sirianni is not getting fired, and they are looking. Both Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni are looking and interviewing new offensive and defensive coordinators, which to me doesn't make sense because if your team quit on you like that, I don't know why you would keep the head coach. I don't know if it was a Sirianni issue. I don't know if it's just a coordinator issue for both sides of the ball, but it's disappointing. Like this, like we started off 10-1 and lose out the way that we did, only winning one game at the end of the year. It's just so goddamn disappointing. Like I don't know what else to say. I don't know who's to blame, but because the players like Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey are defending Nick Sirianni, and I want to say that they're right, but I don't know for sure. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of shit to think about, a lot of shit to go through, a lot of shit to process, a lot of shit to think about. But enough of my sadness, enough of my tragedy of my birds being dead, being roadkill in Tampa Bay. Let's talk about Green Bay kicking in the door, waving the 4-4, making the Dallas Cowboys say, Papa, don't hit me no more. Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, both are garbage. Both are insane. What's the definition of ineptitude and definition of sanity? Repeating the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different fucking result. They have not won. They have not gone past the division round in damn near 30 years. This combination of Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy, yes, they both have. Dak Prescott had his best year as an NFL quarterback. He's an MVP candidate, but he's not show up when it matters the most. And this game mattered the most. He did not show up. The offense did not do a great job. He could not connect to CeeDee Lamb for whatever fucking reason, and I found it glorious. I found it amazing. Tony Pollard couldn't run the football. Again, I found that glorious. And let's talk. As much as I'm shitting on the Dallas Cowboys, because apparently they're keeping Mike McCarthy, which means they're not a serious team. They're going to do the same thing again next year, which will be another 364 days. We're going to talk about how the Dallas Cowboys are great enough in the play. They made the playoffs, possibly win the division again, and they're going to be great enough to win the Super Bowl, and they're going to not show up. They're going to lay another fucking egg like they did this year, and like they did that past 25 years. They haven't gotten to the NFC title game since Troy Aikman was the quarterback, and I was shitting in my diapers. It's phenomenal to watch. I love seeing the Cowboys suffer. I love seeing them lose. I love seeing Cowboy fans suffer. I love seeing them complain. It was a amazing night on Philadelphia Eagles Twitter, seeing the Dallas Cowboys getting their fucking shit kicked in. And now, as much as I shit on the Dallas Cowboys, I need to give the Green Bay Packers the same amount of praise because I feel like only the state of Wisconsin and the city of Green Bay were the only people who would believe that the Green Bay Packers would go into Dallas and win. Now, did they have a good chance? Now, outside media, did they say they had a chance to win? Yes. It was very, I won't say very slim, but there was a very good chance, not very good chance, it was like a possibility. That's what most of these like analysts and like media folks were saying. I mean, I'm not a media folk or analyst myself, but like, including myself, I thought the only real way for the Packers to win was Jordan Love playing mistake-free football and Aaron Jones having another dominant game. Both those things happened. So Matt LaFleur came up with a kick-ass game plan. He said, "Give me that football. We're gonna run all over Dallas. We're gonna dominate the scoreboard early. We're gonna make because the only way the Cowboys can really win is if the defense gets a couple turnovers, gets a pick six, gets a fumble return for a touchdown, and they let the defensive players pin their ears back and go after the quarterback." Green Bay said, "No, we're gonna let that happen right away." So they received the kickoff. They basically scored 27-0 by near the end of the first half. Dallas got a bullshit touchdown at the end of the first half because the left guard got a false start, and the refs didn't call it, but that doesn't matter. But my favorite play of this game, man, there's so many great plays from this game, but my favorite was Jordan Love was doing a play action to Aaron Jones. He faked the run to Aaron Jones, and a tight end was running around. He was left wide open because the Cowboys did not pass the defender off to the Luke Musgrave. He was literally left wide open. He easily could have dropped it the way it was like thrown, the way he was like running it. He stopped, but it looked like he wanted to turn around right away, but he didn't. So luckily he caught the ball and he turned around. He's able to run it for a touchdown. That was like at that point it was like 41. The score turned to 41-16. I was hanging out with my cousins and my uncles, and we were just celebrating. We were laughing our asses off at the Cowboys for getting their fucking shit kicked in. Oh god, it was such a great fucking night. I might go back and watch those highlights again just to make myself happy. Just try to get over this my fucking bullshit team getting their shit kicked in. But anyway, that's enough. That's enough of the recap of the wild card. Now let's go over this. Let's make predictions for this weekend. The Ravens and the Texans, they played earlier this year. I just looked it up. I mean, this is my second time shooting this video, and the game looked pretty even, but the Ravens scored 25-9. They pretty much dominated. I won't say dominate, but from what I remember, the Ravens they won pretty handily. It was 25-9. Do the Texans have a chance of winning? Absolutely. If we learn anything from this weekend, it's the playoffs and anything is possible. Both Houston Texans and Green Bay Packers have a chance to upset the number one seeds in each conference. But will it happen? Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think both these games will be very good. I think they're going to be very close. I think they're going to be within at least a touchdown of each other. I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I'm going to say a score of like 27-20. And the 49ers, again, they're going to win this game within a touchdown. I'm going to say a similar score, but it's going to be a 31-24, I think. So, but who is on more upset alert? If I were to pick a team that'd be more on upset alert, I don't know, because both these defenses dominated in the previous round. Both quarterbacks dominated in the first round. So it's hard to say which one is. I think they're equally. Excuse me. Ooh. Shit, I'm sorry. They're both equally on upset alert. Like, I'm not going to say it's going to happen. I think both Ravens and 49ers win and move on and both host their championship games respectively. But I will not be shocked if the Houston Texans or the Green Bay Packers won their games. Now, the Sunday games, Tampa Bay at Detroit. Lions won earlier this year. They won 20-6. And the Lions did pretty well. They played pretty well in Tampa, beating them. If the Lions can do the same thing, I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be something similar. It's like 24-21 Detroit. It's going to be something very similar that the Buccaneers are going to do against Detroit that they did against us. I think they're going to run a lot of 6-7 man boxes. They're going to stop David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs from running the football because once Detroit gets the running game going, they can just do off play action and they can kick ass from there. That's how the Eagles should have been running their offense, but excuse me. The way the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans run their offense, and the Green Bay Packers, they run their offenses, for example, that's how the Eagles should be running their offense. But we don't. That's a whole other story for another day. Yeah, so like I said, I think Tampa Bay is going to have another great defensive game plan for the Detroit Lions, but I think the Detroit Lions are going to play well enough. They're going to run the ball enough to keep this game 21-21 at the end, and then Detroit wins in the last second field goal. That's my prediction. And now, arguably, what people are going to say is argue the best game of the weekend, which I would tend to agree, because Chiefs are on the road for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. Because other than being at the Super Bowl, the Chiefs have always been at home in the playoffs. Um, and this Mahomes and Allen rivalry to me is a lot like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Tom Brady has won in the playoffs against Peyton Manning early in his career, and Tom Brady lost. And I believe Tom Brady's first loss against Peyton Manning in the playoffs was when he went on the road in 2006 for the Colts Super Bowl year when he was on the road. And something very similar can happen here, and I'm rooting for that outcome to happen. I'm not gonna lie. I'm rooting for Josh Allen to get his first victory against Patrick Mahomes in this rivalry because he is at home. The but the only reason my gut is somebody to go with the Kansas City Chiefs because it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and more importantly, three reasons. First, it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs. Two, the Chiefs' defense has played the best they've ever played, and especially in the Patrick Mahomes era, this is the best defense that Mahomes ever had. And three, I'm concerned about the Bills' injuries, especially on defense, especially linebackers. I fear that they're not going to have enough defensive players to stop this offense. And the X factor for the Chiefs in order to win this game is Rashee Rice is going to need to have another big game. He's going to need to have another, like a 10 catch, 100 yard, one touchdown game. Because the Bills will be trying to cover Travis Kelce. They'll be trying to cover other players. So yeah, I think the Chiefs will win on the road, but I'm rooting for the Buffalo Bills to win. But I think the score is going to be somewhat high. It's going to be another high-scoring game. I think it's going to be 34-31 Kansas City at the end. So yeah, that's it. That's another episode of the TomTalks podcast. Playoff editions, baby. I hope all these games are fantastic, and I hope they all kick ass, and I hope you all have a great fucking weekend. And I hope we get under the great weekend of football.